finance, we have very, very few women. And so we decided that we don't want to be politically correct today. We wanted to say that we need more women. So I've been waiting 5 years to have this panel. So I love my 2 women, 2 investors, who represent really the tiny percentage of women in finance. So please, Pauline and Lara, join me because we feel very empowered. So it is a statement. Tonight, we don't want to be diverse. I love diversity. I think we need to be balanced, but tonight is an exception. So I have just 2 investors, 2 stronger women on stage. Please have a seat with me. Thanks, Leandro. And these are the staggering figures we have in finance. So it's just not about mainstream finance, conventional finance, but it's also about impact investing. And in impact investing, we have many people claiming about inclusion, about diversity, but we are not very much different from these statistics. So this is why we are today, we want just to be women talking about the money we deal with. But we are not just investors, right? We are women, we are daughters, we are mothers, we are sisters, we are so many things. And getting to know Laura and Pauline, my first thought was, let's have a picture, a song, a poem, a word that define who we are. And first, before getting to you, I wanted to share with you the picture I think define me just a little bit. And it is an artwork by an artist I love, Robert Gligorov, who is, by the way, a supporter of SEOC. And this is Milano, the square, the main square we have in Milano, without a Duomo. And Duomo is really the cathedral. And why this picture, this artwork really define me? Because it reminds me my years in Japan, many, many years back, 30 years ago. I spent there almost 3 years, and it was a struggle. You know, it was a struggle. I feel estranged in a very far away place. We didn't have a mobile at that time. And there was, in my struggles, I used to be told, every time I was struggling, to not really, to stop, to go a little bit beyond. There is a sentence in Japanese that really stays stuck with me many, many years, still now, that is mienai koto miru, that stands for I look at the things that I cannot see. I try, and it means that you should go beyond. So you should go beyond always your struggle and look at things that you don't see at a first glance. And this artwork defines me as a person and as an investor, because in my work, and my colleagues know very well, because we have this painting is a photography, is in our office, remind us that we don't have to stop at the surface, we need to dig always deeper as an investor. And so, Pauline, I really looking to understand more a little bit. I want you to share a little bit more who you are and what is the image that defines you as a human being and as an investor.
Is it? Oh. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me here. I don't know if my image is showing yet, but I remember when you asked me the question, I was just thinking, like, I feel like I have so many images that reflect me. But if someone was to ask him who I am, today I feel like I'm an African woman, impact-driven, gender lens, and I like to connect people. when people ask me, where are you from? And some of you ask me, most of the time I ask them, like, what do you want to know? Because, like Francine in the room, I was born and raised in Rwanda, and I left running in 1994. And I found myself in a refugee camp, became a number, and that's the key word really. When you are a refugee, you are a number. No one cares about your past, your future, you being a human. But like Francine, I was among the lucky one. Like today in this room, we have a lot of lucky people like me here. Because I made it, I'm here to talk about how I'm paying it forward by really launching a fund called ShEquity, where we want to address the gender funding gap in Africa. So you saw the chart. I represent 1%, a black female investor. And the reason I'm doing this is because I really don't want women who look like me to struggle to raise money when actually they're creating solutions that impact everyone. So when I was asked to show the image, I showed this Sankofa. I don't think we have anyone from Ghana. I know we are very represented from East Africa. So Ghana, this is basically an image from a tribe in Ghana that means go back and get it. So I left Rwanda in 1994, so I haven't been living there since then. I lived in the US, in the UK, in France, in Switzerland. I have traveled around the globe, worked around more than 25 countries in Africa. And I feel like still people want me to be defined in one country. And at some point when I was, asking myself, who am I? How can I really contribute to impacting the world? This image spoke to me because it says, go back and get it. So for me, what I'm doing today is actually remembering I'm an African woman. I can be a bridge between anyone from anywhere to actually impact my home continent. And also, when you look at, the discussion we had earlier and the kind of the many challenges we face today, you need really people like me who actually can be in a game of, shaping solutions that we can have to solve the many challenges we have on the continent. And the people like me are those bridges that go back and remember where they came from, but also realize how lucky they are because they can move around freely. So that Sankofa, look it up. It's really super deep and super powerful. And I love African symbols because they tell the story in a powerful way. Thank you.
It's very beautiful, Pauline. Thank you. How your roots and also you're really looking at the future has really defined you as a person and as an investor. And this, we are very, very grateful. Thank you. Lara, we have known each other for some years, and I have always admired the way you have shifting from one side to another. And so which is your picture?
Thank you, Elena, and good evening, everybody. These are two pictures of mine that represent me fully. I'm a gardener, meaning that I love to take care of something that I would like to live with, and also which may be different from me. So taking care as one specific element that I reflect via this photo. At the same time, I'm a long-distance swimmer since many years. For many years, I've been a long-distance swimmer, and I think that taught me how to be patient with strength. That means resilient. So I can take care, I can try to grow something and take care of something that is also far away from me, different from me, and I'm patient enough and strong enough, or at least I try to be resilient enough to see the results.
And Laura, what was your inflection point? When did you decide that you wanted to be an investor?
When I realized that the projects we were actually caring for were not receiving enough, that it was that kind of passion and motivation, but also that edge innovation that nobody would have considered or actually was not considering. So for me, I mean, I started actually to push and to collect money, to gather money, to do fundraising for the fund that then eventually became the first impact fund in Italy in terms of seed investment, very early stage. I mean, all those projects were actually not thriving, not growing. We are very familiar with the expression, the Death Valley. I was seeing the frustration, but I was also seeing the potential of that edge innovation that was not considered.
And Pauline, which was your inflection point? Why you did decide, you said briefly, but there was a moment when you decided to be a champion in genderless investing. There was a role model or a moment you realized that it was what you wanted to be and to do.
Yeah, so I've been involved in supporting and championing African innovators for the last 12 years. I used to manage a private foundation in Switzerland. So there we work so hard to find the best innovators who are really solving pressing challenges in Africa, but also who believe those solutions can scale and solve global challenges. And down the road, I realized we didn't have many women. It was almost for me like even realizing is interesting word, because I'm like, well, how come we don't have women in here? And I know as an African woman that we represent more than 50%. And I know as an African woman that we are involved in every aspect of business decision, home-based decision, anything a woman will be involved one way or another, whether directly or indirectly, through the husband or through the kids. So at that point is when I realized we needed to do something about it. And unfortunately, we couldn't devise the right strategy at the foundation. So that's when I decided to basically set up ShEquity. But one of the reasons was also because, again, looking the way I look, an African woman, but also who live in different markets, I get invited a lot to speak. And I was really tired to be talking about the problems about Africa. You know, I'm like, there are problems everywhere. Why do we always talk about problems in Africa? And I wanted to be able to be in a conversation where we can direct the discussion around the solutions. And I wanted to say, hey, this is what I'm doing about the problem we care about. Can you join me? So that was one of the incentives. I wanted to have something specific. I can show people how we can actually change the world by investing in one woman at a time.
And there is anything you think that characterize your specific genderless investing? So there is a kind of a woman you're looking for, or is a kind of enterprise you're looking for?
Thank you for that. Actually, one of the things I feel I could say very to some extent unique to ShEquity is the fact that we are taking an ecosystem approach to investing. What I mean with that is we want to find very good businesses that are having impact on people and the planet, while also generating return for the stakeholder and shareholders. But we also realize, Africa right now counts about 40% of SMEs owned and led by women, but they face 42 billion gender funding gap. So we, on our way to understand why was this the case, we realized a lot of businesses owned and led by women, they were stuck in semi-informal economy, which means for funds like yours and mine, from a pure business perspective, we will not actually work with them. So we realized we need to de-risk those businesses. So we set up a program called SHIBA that we're piloting in West Africa, where we're supporting about 60 women a year through a program that's focusing on investment readiness. So in terms of our investment, we're looking for innovative, impactful, and scalable businesses where women own at least 35%, because we want to create wealth for women. We not just your other gender lens, tick the box. We actually want to see women making money, because we know what that means when a woman owns money.
And we're talking about power dynamics again, and it's extremely important. There are many, well, not so many, but like almost 240 gender lens funds worldwide, or at least they claim to be gender lens funds. But here we're not talking about just ticking the box, just investing in women-led enterprises, but changing the power dynamics, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Laura, I'm sure that you will be, called, and also the same Pauline, by many enterprises, because as it was mentioned earlier, social enterprises need funding and need a specific funding. So what are you looking for when you invest in the very early stage companies?
We are talking about unlocking human and social capital, and I have to answer you in a very, I would say, explicit way. We are looking for social capital, for social value that is able to generate economic value for the community, for the territory, for society. So the difficult thing for us is actually to explore, understand, interpret what social value means. And that could be very, easy at a first glance, but when you want to actually have social value at the beginning as the intentional as part of your DNA for your business model, then it becomes much more difficult. So we define ourselves as social value explorers, meaning that we also try not to sit in a comfort zone just to avoid the power dynamics that we ourselves may end up finding ourselves,
but
or putting
Laura,
ourselves into.
Do you think that in this pursuit you are also educating entrepreneurs to look at deep inside themselves?
Yes. Lots of startups, but I would say also typical social enterprises are aware of their social value, but they are not, or either they are, I would say, too traditionally regarded or structured, that they do not actually scale their value, their social value, or they're not even aware of what more, I would say, additionally they can do with their value. So we are also educating them via our acceleration program, but at the same time we are educating ourselves. Because, I would like to be very clear also with that. Investors, also impact investors, even impact investors, do not have the truth or the right recipe for all cases.
And Pauline, do you feel the same? I'm just wondering, because I've been in my journey, in our journey, approaching women entrepreneurs, and we have seen outstanding, listened to outstanding entrepreneurs, women today. Sometimes I feel that they are a little bit reluctant to work with investors, so maybe to give up some equity or to give up a little bit of their babies. Have you experienced the same?
I haven't experienced it, so to speak, directly, but I know I have heard of this many times. What I know is one thing we keep telling also the entrepreneurs we work with is that look for smart money. Don't just go for money. And I think you have, unfortunately, some not so positive stories where investors come in, and because they bring money, they think they can tell the entrepreneurs what to do. So those it's like what you're saying. We're not like also always ethical or doing the things that should be done. So what I have seen when we find a business we like and we engage into negotiation, once the entrepreneur trusts you and they get to know you and they see that there is a value alignment, I don't think giving an equity is an issue. But what I have seen, people will come in, I have money, I want you to do this. And obviously, like when you give away your equity, basically it's like you're marrying this person. Usually it's 5 to 10 years, right? So I would say it makes sense that actually those women, think twice before they take the money. Because the opposite, they will take the money and then they realize, oh, now I need to do everything that this person has told me how to do.
And you said very rightly, I mean, this is really the recommendation we always make to our entrepreneurs, looking for the smart money, for the smart funding, for the one you really love. I mean, investors very aligned with them, otherwise their life can be very miserable. Because it's a long-term relationship.
But also it's about the value, creation, the value addition. Normally, if you invest as an equity investor, it's not just about putting money and waiting for you to come back and exit. It's actually you're supposed to really work with the founder, help them create a value. So usually if you're taking an equity from anyone, you need to have a clarity what are the kind of value this investor is going to bring to you. Because you are now a partner. If you do well, they're doing well. And unfortunately, again, in the African context, because you don't have a lot of early stage investors, investors tend to dictate the terms in a way sometimes they're not necessarily friendly to entrepreneurs who desperately need money to survive.
And so can you share a story where what you are saying ended up to be really true? I mean, a success, a win-win story for you and the entrepreneur.
Well, we have two of our co-investors here in the room. I could say, to be corrected by Adan, he's in the room. I think we have worked very well with the Kojuju. So we were the first investor.
Adam, where is Adam?
Adam is there. So you can correct him if I'm wrong, if I'm making up stories. But we were the first investor in Kojuju, and I remember actually when we started the negotiation and we placed an offer, they accepted it. And at the end, I told them, you're not supposed to accept an offer, just the first offer. You're supposed to negotiate. Because I come to the table also knowing that you're going to negotiate. So when you accept, yes, but at the end, but we were doing a safe instrument, which is still not harmful when you give away, because at the end of the day, you correct it at the conversion. And since then, when we were coming in a deal, he's sending me the term sheets. So whatever feedback you were getting that was very strong was coming from us, helping him negotiate. And I think since then, he doesn't need me.
And
they don't need me. They usually send me stuff.
And you should know that it was the time that I thought I need to meet Pauline. Okay. because she's challenging us. But
turned out well, because at the end, and again, and this is the one thing, like the program we're running for investment readiness. We are honest with the founder. We tell them, look, when you meet an investor, my job is to negotiate with you. So I come in knowing that if I put this on a table, because I have done a lot of training in negotiation, I know if I need this price, I'm going to start it this way. When you accept right away, then I don't even know if I can tell you, no, can I take it the other way? So you need to know this. And with Adnan, so he ran, but we were using a different instrument. Yours was important that they get it right. And so now they have raised an equity round. The company is now at break even. The founders, I think, this is one of the best company we have worked with. Yes, and I think we've been really partners. They know when to reach out, and I know when to reach out.
Thank you. And thanks, Adam, for making us very happy. Yeah. And Laura, can you also share a story where you think that you deploy your successful value proposition and where the entrepreneur felt very happy to have you on board?
Oh, well, I have a couple of stories very briefly. One regards actually the biggest exit that was made in Europe for an impact startups last year in 2022, which is Uno Bravo. Probably you've heard about that. I mean, there were 3 girls coming, 3 psychologists, 3 girls, and that's why I'm mentioning it, coming to us. There were not even a company, not even a startup, and they had found a unique, I would say, market entrance, market angle that was providing psychotherapy online for Italian expatriates. And all of a sudden, they were actually overwhelmed with the requests, because, I mean, they were actually working shifts, 8-hour shift per head, the 3 of them, to cover the different requests coming from all over the world. And I remember that they made their pitch in front of our investment committee, and the investment committee was at that time, composed only by men and just me, as the only woman at the table, but I had the fortune to be the president of the fund and the general manager.
So you had the casting vote.
I had the casting vote. And the same, I mean, it's very, nice to tell us a story. And my main GP was actually sitting on the investment committee, and that was the first time he was actually showing up as a shareholder, as the main shareholder. And he looked at me when the
Look, he's listening to you, you know?
Sorry?
So should be careful.
Okay.
Joking.
And so they presented the 3 girls, and I said, wow, this is unique. They are actually, they were driven not by the idea of making money, of having found something technologically advanced, the platform, or something like that, but they were driven by the fact that there was to avoid or to destroy the stigma that goes associated with mental health and distress. So I said, oh, this is a unique market entrance. And the main shareholder turned to me and said, you want to give my money to them? And I said, yes. I said, okay. I mean, he couldn't discredit me because, I mean, he had appointed me as a president. And at the same time, he was actually starting to doubt, to be shilly-shally about myself, about my role, about my competence and skills and all that usual stuff. And so he said, okay, do as you like. And I said, okay, then I want to give them this kind of a ticket. Well, after 2 years, they scale up so big, so large, so fast, that they close around of almost 20 million. And I mean, we cashed in a huge return on investment with
So
impact.
I'm sure that your GP now is forgot that he was against the investment, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But now, I mean, I made the point, this is also the other thing, the woman and a finance woman, a woman on the board in an investment fund and so on. I made the point, and I would say there is now more convergence and there is a way we are learning one from the other without playing only roles or better power roles.
But you know, it reminds me exactly what happened at a foundation, Opes SCF Foundation, when it was decided that we wanted to set up this facility for women-led enterprises in sub-Saharan Africa. And there was one of our board members, I'm the only woman there, saying, well, you know, what kind of risk tolerance should we have to invest in local women? You know, okay, local entrepreneur, but women, you know, so. And, but what was the failure? Because we're not here just to celebrate success. And my friend Rish is a very passionate our friend Rish is very passionate about failures. And so I feel really, it's like a compulsory path, Rish. Where you are, we needed to talk about failures. So what is your failure, or what do you think, because, you know, in a conversation we had, and here is, I'm asking first Pauline, because you say something that is beautifully said, that you say, failing is important to fail with integrity. Can you elaborate a bit?
Should I? Okay, let me take this first. So when we were having a conversation around what we should be focused on today, one of the, you know, the thing that I mentioned is that we go around saying, hey, telling what entrepreneurs it's okay to fail very fast and start again. But the reality right now is still like if you fail in Africa, you're done. So we're encouraging entrepreneurs to fail, but we're not putting money to help them pick up the lessons they have learned so they can learn. So which means they're going to hide it because they don't have example of any African who have failed and actually made it. This is whole thing was constructed from Silicon Valley, right? And we're taking it and running with it. But however, I said, given that on the continent, the whole idea that you fail and someone else is going to back you again, you can start again, it might be a myth. We hope we can get to the reality, but right now it's a bit of a myth. When you fail as an entrepreneur, it's important that you fail with integrity. And what I meant by that is, as an entrepreneur, when you're going through the challenges, it's important to communicate with the, you know, your stakeholders, your shareholders, your investors. Because one, if actually you tell them beforehand, they might support, even prevent or mitigate. But once you fail as well, be honest. See what are the learning, what is it that you have done wrong that you could do better, and what is it that you have done right, and maybe your ecosystem failed you. But don't try to just sugarcoat and live as if there's nothing that you have learned, even though no one is going to invest in you. Those lessons are important, because I have seen also the other side, the entrepreneurs will not do what they're supposed to do. So when we invest, we sign agreements where money is supposed to be used towards specific areas, and some entrepreneurs might choose to be smart and not use for that cause, right? So if you fail because actually you misused the money, you didn't do what that's, for me, it's no integrity. If anything, you're going to learn that the next time you need to use your money, the money you got for the right cause. But the integrity is being able to stand up and say, hey, I have done everything I could have done, and I failed. And on my side, I think I have had many failures trying to, one, smuggle myself from a refugee camp to other countries. I was returned many times, but I made it. And the last one that is probably related to what I'm doing right now is I failed to convince my board at the foundation where I was a managing director to actually have a program that designed to include women. And so what I learned was if you try everything and nothing works, just then, create something. So that's how I created ShEquity. Right now, I'm fairing over and over fundraising. I'm raising between 25 to 40 million. I get, many no's, but I get some yes, and I celebrate. So failure is a part of the game.
But never give up.
No, giving up is not an option for me.
And Laura, what is your familiarity with failure? Because you have been in so many places.
I've been in so many places, and I have also to share that I grew up in a German school. So you can associate the term of failure in a German school was actually something that was regarded as a bad thing at that time, at my age, when I was at school. And then I had a very strict, I would say, education, and also grew up in a very strict family, so failure was not actually accepted. But if, I managed to escape that culture, let's say so, and to redesign myself. And I started right from that kind of culture that was not allowing the potential not only of myself, but also of the people that I was seeing around me. So I interpret failure as, and then of course I worked in so many different corporates around the world, and little by little I understood, but that happened mainly when I lived in the US, that failure is just part of your pathway, of your learning experience. And had many failures. But one failure I would like to share with you, because that allows you to see us not only as investors, but also as a startupper, is that when I set up the facility for the first time, the investment facility, I was so hungry of making it, or getting it started, because I was actually urged, motivated by the thing I was observing. I had told you before, so many projects that needed money that could scale, and I was just paralyzed, and they were paralyzed, and there was urgency for money to be put there with expected returns, with some expectation of good returns. That I accepted people on the board that were not actually driven by the same mission. And I discovered that. I trusted them, and I discovered that little by little during the operational phase. During operations, I realized that execution was actually revealing that there was not a mission alignment with the vision we wanted to give to our investment facility. That was a failure, and I paid for that, because it took me 2 years to get rid of those people and to have a new board, and also to reestablish the team. So just to go with what Pauline was saying before, choose smart money, choose smart investor, look at investor also in the way he or she approaches you, and also very specifically, technically, the kind of business model sometimes that investors suggests you may also reveal some mission alignment that you have to test.
So
better.
at the very end, choose the right people to do things you love with. We are getting very close to our conversation. We have here a very diverse audience, and I'd like to ask you if you have a message you want to convey to the entrepreneurs, investor, foundation. There are here asset owners, there are entrepreneurs, young people. What do you like to say to them?
Yeah, I think for the entrepreneurs, two things. One is, you might think you need money and you need it yesterday, but if you take wrong money, then you're gonna, start from even no zero, right? So smart money is a key, and what I mean by smart money, it's looking at who's bringing your money, what value they bring, and also the mission alignment. The second is look at your investors as your partners. If you're taking investors you don't want to have as a partner, then don't take them, because they can support you. When we invest in a business as ShEquity, we really like to be able to support. It doesn't mean we can do everything. Sometimes we might not have a time, but we're always going to make sure that we're investing in a company where we can see how we can leverage the networks we have to support on a scaling or finding team members or anything else. Because we have a network that is global, but also that has worked across a range of many sectors. For investors in the room, I just wanted to remind people about the chart you showed. I didn't become investor because I just wanted to become investor. I just realized 1% is too less, and that's why we have a 42 billion gender funding gap in Africa. Because we don't have people like me, women investing in women. I always pride myself to say I represent women I invest in. They are solving challenges that we can sit in this room and discuss intellectually, but they actually doing it. So we can support you. The fund like ShEquity, we can support you achieve your own mission, which is basically to have an impact and eventually get your money back so you can reinvest in any other impactful businesses. So we need really to address the lack of diversity in people who make decisions about who to invest in. And you can make that happen. For other people between, investors, entrepreneurs, always looking for partners, either to support scale, find clients, so talk to us, talk to entrepreneurs, but don't feel like, oh, I'm not an investor, I'm not an entrepreneur, I can't do anything. You remember what the other speaker, Hegel, said, you can do a lot. And there's a quote I like that says that if you think you are too small to make a difference, try to spend a night with a mosquito. For those who've been to Africa, they make noises, you can't sleep. So you're not too small to make a difference.
Thank you. And Laura, what is your message?
To the entrepreneurs, to the startups, to be expert in your business, in your innovation, and to be brave. For investors, I think it's time now for impact investors to reflect and to start a new interpretation of risk. For the people who are not investors and entrepreneurs, we want to work for social progress. I personally am engaged for social progress. And it takes a community to reach results for social progress, to fight for social progress. So we need actually the help from everybody.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Pauline. I think we are in a mission to reshape finance, to fund brave early-stage entrepreneurs, and to give credit to amazing women. Thank you very much.